The birth of a child is a cause for celebration not just in one's family but in the village, so to speak. And usually that is associated with a distribution of sweets and the giving of gifts. The child often receives a gift of gold. It's symbolic and it means that you are giving that child a certain amount of wealth so that that child is held in good stead going forward. In today's times, there are a lot more options available when you're talking about ensuring that that child's well-being is secured many years down the line. Joining me now to talk about the various options and particularly the benefits of starting an SIP early is PV Subramaniam, the Chief Executive Officer of Subramani.com. Thank you so much, Subra, for taking the time. Good evening to you. Let's first, before we get into a few scenarios, talk about why you should consider starting an SIP in the first month of a child's life.
Well, as soon as possible. So first month is superb, but whenever you can. Many people may not do it that early. The advantage is you will teach the child the power of compounding, and by the time the child is 6-7 years old, you can show them the statement and see what is happening in their life. Second, it will put in some discipline into you, saying, okay, this is money earmarked for my child. This is not something which I will touch to make a foreign trip or buying the third air conditioner in the fourth bedroom or something like that, right? So you will not, you've given your money direction and time and, the destination where it has to reach and when it has to reach. Giving direction to your money is one of the best things you can do in money management.
But let's talk about this some more. If you're talking about setting up an investment for your child, again, you've said that starting as early as possible is good. You can start in the first year, I guess, of your child. Is it important where you put that money, or the quantum, is it as important as the process?
The quantum helps. I mean, obviously, a 10,000 rupee SIP will earn more than a 1,000 rupee SIP, and a 1 lakh rupee SIP will earn more than a 10,000 rupee SIP. There is no doubt about that. So, as much as you can, and the very simple philosophy in money management is as much as you can and as long as you can, in the correct quality of assets, will create wealth. There is absolutely no doubt about that. So, yes, as early and as much as quantity that you can put, that's the way to go.
Decision on where to invest.
Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Okay, where to invest is largely you have many children plans. The children plan largely a hybrid fund. It will have maybe 50-60%, maybe 70% in equity and 30% in debt. But if you're starting for a child who is 1 month old, you can go for a flexi cap fund or a large and mid cap fund where you're getting all the flavors and you don't need to make a You've got 18 years to go or maybe 21 years to go. So you can get into some debt by the time the child is 15 years old or 16 years old. Right now, you can stick to a complete equity fund, a flexi cap fund, which will have a mid cap, large cap, and a small cap, and let the fund manager decide where to put mid cap or large cap, so that you have the choice of sitting back and seeing the funds grow.
Now, I personally am very interested in this because my godchild, my sister's daughter, was born on the 20th of February this year. And I'm quite keen on creating a certain amount of wealth for her. I'm thinking of setting aside, Subra, about 1,000 or 2,000 rupees every month. But the point is that I'm not going to be as involved in her upbringing as her parents will be. So what you were pointing out, and we'll discuss the benefits of teaching the child power of compounding, but I'm more keen on her having access to the funds after a certain age, and I'm more keen on understanding the nitty-gritties associated with setting up a fund in her name so that I don't have to worry about it down the line. I can just imagine that 1,000 rupees is not coming to me every month. It's automatically going to her for a period of 18, 19, 21 years.
Right. So what you will do is the KYC of the parent, because it will have to be, parent is the natural guardian, not the mama like you are. So you need our parents' KYC, mother or father. You will have to make one visit to the AMC. You will have to first step is to open a bank account for the child. Now, this is a very funny situation. If you are to invest the child money in a child fund, let's say you want to put it in XYZ mutual fund, child fund, then you still need a bank account to show that when the money matures, so when the kid is 18 years of age, the matured amount has to go into the child's account. So that will automatically happen. So your fear of the child not accessing the money before 18 is in place, and the child will get the money only at the age of 18, and she will get it in her account. However, if you decide to put in XYZ mutual fund, flexi cap fund, then the money has to go from the child's account. So this is a funny requirement, but it is a SEBI requirement. So the money will have to go from your account to the child's account and then only get invested. So let me repeat, the child fund can go from your account, but the in the FlexiCap fund or some other fund, it will have to go through the child's account. So it will have to be put into the child's account and then only invested. So this is what happens in a child plan.
Okay. So,
And that's it. At the age of 18, you'll have to fill up a form which is called minority to majority form, and then the child will get access to it. Of course, by the time the child will have her own PAN card, Aadhaar card, her own KYC will have to be done, and then the child will have access to the fund.
okay. I guess the challenges will only be if she's too young, and how do you set up a bank account and all of that. But I guess that can be figured out. But then the question is, with regard to this child plan, let's talk about that a little bit more. Because then it is a question of whether whether I think a flexi cap fund is better, but in the context of not having to transfer a certain amount of money every month into her account, and if I wanted to go from my account, then effectively a child's plan is what I would be looking for. What is the kind of return that I would look at? What is a benchmark that I can think of if I'm thinking of 18, 20 years?
It takes a very brave man to ask such a question over 18 years with credit returns, and equally foolish man to answer that question. See, it's very, very difficult to say depending on where Indian economy is, whether we are advanced economy, not an advanced economy, etc. But I would think 2% more than what you would get in a PPF, which is safe assumption. So if you're getting 7% in PPF today, you should be able to get about 9%. If PPF interest drops to 3% after 10 years, you'll get about 5%. So you will outbeat PPF. That's the only thing which one can hope for. What rates, putting absolute numbers over such a long period. One advantage, I hope to be dead in 18 years, so you can't hold me to it, but guessing is no use.
No, PV, I'm quite sure that we'll have a conversation at that time, and I will probably have less hair than you have at that point as well. But the point is that I wanted to give people, people have this habit of putting things into an SIP calculator just to see how numbers might pan out. And
So, so 11%, 12% is what you should get in about 70% of your investment, because that is an equity investment, and about 5-6% in a debt fund as of today. I think I'll hold myself for next 3 years on this. After that, it is a dynamic thing. But yes, you can put in a figure of something like 9-10%, and for your calculation purposes, don't hold me to it after 18 years. That's the only thing.
okay, so fantastic. We did a little bit of a back of the envelope calculation. We talked about how 2,000 rupees would amount to about, say, what, 24, 25 lakh rupees in about 18 years at 12% or thereabouts. So there is a substantial amount of money that you can generate through this route. Let's get back to a scenario where you're saving for your own child, because I think beyond just creating wealth for your child, there is a requirement, PV, with regard to the cost of education that is going up right now. There are certain other requirements that you need to save for. Would you say that beyond just the idea of starting an SIP in lieu of another gift maybe that you would give a child, or another plan that you would have for a child, setting up something like this would be extremely beneficial from the perspective of higher education, perhaps education abroad?
There are two, three things. One is, I would not have bothered saying this, but now equity is also taxed. So they're accumulating money in the name of the child makes more sense, because you will withdraw the money when the child is 18 plus, and the child will definitely pay less tax than the parent. Once in a while, you can bump up the money because you can put your calculators and see how much money is required for the education. But even better, Alex, when the child is 6 years old or 7 years old, you can show the statement and teach them how compounding works. How in a year you have put 12,000 rupees and it has become 14,000, or how you put 12,000 rupees and it has become 9,000 because it is a bear market. And you show the child how many units have you accumulated. Don't look at the returns. Right? Once in a while, when the child makes an unreasonable demand, you say, okay, can we remove it from that fund? And the kid will say, no, no, that's my money. So you teach them value of money. So you teach them all that. And yeah, 25 lakhs looks big today, but even today, Alex, you accept that if a child wants to study abroad, you're going to cost something like 2 crores. So once in a while, you get a Diwali bonus or something like that. You can pump money into it and say, okay, this is also going towards it. So whenever you have spare money, you can put into it and make the money grow. And when the child needs the money, the child can start withdrawing from that. Let us assume for a minute the child does not need the money, just some education which does not cost so much. That money can become a corpus for her to buy an asset like a house or a car, or if she leaves it untouched for an even longer period, it can become her own retirement plan. So that is the purpose of teaching children about money management. Of course, we are accumulating money for our education, but if you don't use it for education, you can always use it for something else.
And that 25 lakhs that I was talking about is 2,000 rupees spent over a period of 20 years. That's what her mama will give her. But I'm guessing her parents will,
Correct.
so
Correct.
her parents will be
Yeah,
saving apart from that as well.
absolutely.
Yeah, but the other thing, of course, is how they're going to use it beyond that point. Is there any sense if you're saving a large amount of money, there is this concept globally or in certain other markets where a trust is created? Is that something that you should consider if it's a very large sum of money, Subra?
I don't think so. It does not really matter because if the child is perfectly normal, alive, and studying further, the child will have the maturity to handle it. You don't have to worry. Yes, only thing is if the father is doing some risky business and he thinks his money can be attached by a court or things like that, you want to keep it away, then it might be a different thing. But no, for 99% of your viewers, no, you don't need to do all that. Keeping it in the child's name is perfectly all right. But please understand at the age of 18, the child can tell the father to take a walk and taking this money and going on a work. So be ready for that.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I'm hoping that young kids watching this are not getting any ideas. But having said that, given the choice, and Subra, I know that your own kids are older now, but given the choice between having a gold chain given to your child at the in the first month of their life and an SIP started for them, which would you choose?
Definitely SIP. Funnily, HDFC Child Plan was closing the day my daughter was born. That was 9th February 2001. And on that day, I put money. The day she was born, I put an SIP for her.
Okay, so that's great to know. I guess it's a pretty straightforward conversation that we've had, but an important one nonetheless, Subra, because the idea of creating wealth and the idea of putting something behind your child as they start their life as an adult is a very powerful one. Thank you so
No,
much
and
for.
also, Alex, very important because the taxation will be in the child's hand because the child is a major. That is also a big saving. So, so the equity being taxed, the child will pay the tax, not the parent. The clubbing provision will not apply after the kid is 18. That's a very, very important sweetener also. So thank you.
So it does make sense. It makes sense
Yes.
all the way around. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Subra, for taking the time. Always a pleasure.